Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. It is about 6 a.m. here in Oxnard. Most people are still way asleep. I'm still on East Coast time, which is good because I can get a little extra work done, although it's bad because I don't sleep. I don't sleep late, and I'm ready to sleep early. But it's all good because we're getting it done. Yesterday was the first practice of that. Shout out to my man West Coast as well as Law Nation. Getting a lot of emails and text messages and stuff and saying, hey, I want to see you at camp and get a picture with you and stuff. I will be at practice today, tomorrow, and Friday. But after practice today, we're going to be going to Red Robin, which is about a mile and a half away from the practice facilities. We're going to do a live stream there together, me and Law Nation, as well as a meetup. And we hope that we can see a whole bunch of you guys. We want to try and take over Red Robin. So that'll be somewhere around 1:30, 2 o'clock this afternoon. So be there, join us, and hopefully we'll have a great time. And we'll be talking about a great practice, man. Not the game. Not the game. We'll be talking about the great practice. Okay, so I've had a night to sleep on yesterday's practice and watching the offense and watching the offensive line kind of get dominated by the defensive line. That makes me feel great about the defense, and today I'm going to focus in on watching the offensive line more, try and give those guys some more love, of course, because, the linemen and things, the big nasties, they don't get love. But I enjoyed yesterday watching the technique that was going on the defensive line. They were definitely putting in the work. And now we'll see how the offensive line responds. Now, understand, listen, we're going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. There's a reason why you practice, okay? The reason you practice is to get better, to try people in different situations than they've been in before and try to get them out of their comfort zone. And one practice does not a team make. So, we all get bent out of shape because we see one interception, one drop pass, or, one missed block and stuff. But the thing is, this is going to happen. You're going to have guys that some of them are in better shape when they get to training camp and they're going to be ready to rock and roll. You're going to have some guys that are literally, like a deer with a headlight because they're having so much stuff thrown at them that they're going to hesitate. And it's a learning curve. So yesterday is done. It's gone. It's out of here. And yeah, it's done. It's out of here. So we look at this and we'll say, what is today going to bring? Now, one problem that is beginning to really, rear its head is dealing with what the Cowboys decided to do at wide receiver. We did have a deep wide receiver core last year, but because of the feud between Amari Cooper and Jerry Jones, Amari Cooper is gone. Of course, we didn't want to pay him. Cedric Wilson is also gone. And we are trying to do wide receiver by committee. We are taking CeeDee Lamb and we're gambling that he is going to be the number one. And we just don't know. Now, of course, there's Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant, he says he would love to kick up the X again in Dallas. So there is that option. He is working out, still in shape. And, I'm sure Jerry knows how to get in touch with him. So, I'll ask you this, y'all. Would you like to see Cowboys kick the tires on Dez Bryant again? Are we down the line here to try and bring him in? I don't know. Maybe. Jerry Jones, on the situation that they created, has no urgency at this point after losing James Washington. I'll call you back, Derek. He says, not at all. Let's get these guys the incentive. These young receivers see the big opportunities ahead. There's no urgency for a better wide receiver. The other part of this is there's not a lot of options at this moment. Unless you're going to trade for somebody, you're basically dealing with guys that are, journeymen. You're dealing with guys who are injured or coming off of injury. People say, go sign Odell Beckham. Well, Odell doesn't help us until end of October or early November coming off of ACL. It's the same as getting Michael Gallup back. There's T.Y. Hilton who's out there rehabbing, who's been downhill. There's Will Fuller, who, again, played 3 games last year. So when you start looking at this, you may be better off actually waiting till all the roster cuts start happening, and people will have players out there. And that's where you'll be able to really find some stuff. Pretty much, if you are a good player right now, you're in somebody's camp when they have 90 spots that are open. So I can understand that there's not a sense of urgency just to sign somebody, just to say we signed somebody. But they will be looking and scouring. But for me, here's the opportunity. Now, yesterday, Jake Ferguson did not practice yesterday, but he is going to be the key on getting this thing together. Seeing Dalton Schultz and all the catches he had in practice, you can see Dak Prescott and Dalton Schultz are really becoming a good thing there together in practice. And what that means is, especially since we do have a lack of wide receivers, something I have been pounding the table on for quite a while is 12 personnel. 12 personnel is going to have to be the thing that saves us. That in the running game. Now here, let me explain, because somebody asked me to explain 12 personnel. Okay, 12 personnel, the first number is the number of running backs. So if it's zero, two personnel, that means there's no running backs. If it's one personnel, the one would be one running back. If it's 20, then it's two running backs, okay? I don't know that, I guess if we did wishbone, it would be 30 personnel. The second number is the number of tight ends. So when you say 11 personnel, that's one running back and one tight end. If you said 21, that would be two running backs and one tight end. When you say 12 personnel, that means there's one running back and two tight ends. Now, the advantage of having this is the tight end is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. The tight end can be a blocker, and he can be a receiver if you have ones that are good at receiving. And what this means is when you line up, when you come out with two tight ends, traditionally, that was like a short yardage running formation because teams didn't pass that much. You got your 5 offensive linemen, you got 2 tight ends. That means you have 7 guys that can block, which is great when somebody putting 8 men in the box and you need short yardage, because then that means the running back, you got to make somebody miss. Okay, now here's the thing that you can do with 12 personnel. Because Dalton Schultz is a great receiver, you could have 2 tight ends on one side. You can take your tight ends, have them in tight, and then snap when you get ready to do your motion, you can shift them out further to be wide receivers. So instead of looking like a heavy formation, you could actually end up having 5 wideouts because you take the running back and you put them outside. And we saw quite a bit of that yesterday in practice where they'd have Zeke or Tony in the backfield and they would shift, and all of a sudden, Tony Pollard's out in the slot. Your tight ends would go wide. Sometimes we'd actually have the tight ends lining up as an H-back and being basically kind of a fullback, but kind of shifted a little bit more to one side and closer to the line. We saw yesterday actually wham blocks being done by Dalton Schultz. And a wham block is something a nose guard would always hate, because what it is the tight end is in motion. The tight end is in motion, and what he's doing is at the snap of the ball, he's turning up and he's blocking, and you are literally blindside blocking somebody. So there's all kinds of things that you can do out of this. So you can be heavy package and run against guys, or, if they are heavy defense, 8 men in the box, you can go ahead and spread everybody out and throw the football and have the advantages of having receivers on slow linebackers and things. So the Cowboys more than likely are going to have to be a heavy 12 personnel team. Now I'm going to go to Get Up this morning and play a clip from them. This just happened a little while ago. And listen to what they had to say basically about the Cowboys wide receiver circumstances. Cowboys should sign Odell.
Another wide receiver to injury earlier this week. James Washington expected to be out 6 to 10 weeks with a foot injury. Yesterday, here was Jerry Jones on the status of the wide receiver room in Dallas.
I don't want to be out here pushing, be aggressive as far as going outside, looking at what may be available that are free agents right now or otherwise. So I don't think it's urgent at all. I think we've got a lot of ways to throw the ball.
12 personnel.
He says, I don't think it's urgent, but you take a look here and you see all of the departures and losses, including Washington there, no Amari Cooper, So one man's not so urgent might be another man's, holy smoke, we got a problem here. Well, let me ask Dan Orlovsky which of those men he is as we take a look at this in Dallas. How concerned are you about the Cowboys offense right this minute, Dan Orlovsky?
Not overly concerned, because it's the situation that I've been telling the Cowboys for 3 months to do more of, and that's playing 12 personnel with 1 back and 2 tight ends. I have felt that way since they traded Amari Cooper. I think this offense is at its best, and their offensive play caller, Kellen Moore, is at its best when they have multiple tight ends on the field. CeeDee Lamb's got to take a big jump forward, but I think Dalton Schultz is one of the better young tight ends in all of football. And Sean McKeon, a younger tight end, is a good player for them. They drafted Jake Ferguson out of Wisconsin. I actually texted Kellen. I said, dude, just live in 12 personnel. It's when you're absolute best. It's when you can get your run game most committed to. It's when that allows Dak Prescott to play a little bit more on the move in their play action game. I have felt that their perimeter players were going to be lesser than they anticipated. But the Cowboys weren't winning the NFC East because of James Washington. That's not a disrespect to him.
True.
And they're not going to lose the NFC East because of James Washington. They are at their absolute best when they have multiple tight ends on the field. This only expedites that process for them.
Yeah, I believe it was Tannenbaum on this show yesterday who said, look, let's not make James Washington out to be Jerry Rice. I get that
He
part of
also
it.
said something else outrageously nuts, Greeny, when he said
Well,
for them to
that-
go
that's-
get a OBJ. That's
That's
nuts.
just,
Thank you.
Well, why is that nuts? That's where I was going to go next. Tannenbaum, go ahead. For those who weren't with us yesterday, tell everyone
You're
the thing
nuts.
that you said that made Dan Orlovsky say you were crazy.
Well, Greeny, while I didn't text OBJ, if I did, here's what I would tell him. You're the best player on the planet as a free agent. You're not healthy right now, but he will give them an explosive element while Michael Gallup comes back from injury, ironically the same ACL.
At the
He was
same
the best
time.
football player on the field the last time he played. So while I agree with Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz, and other ways to control the line of scrimmage, he can hit a home run and be a game changer. So I am hard-pressed to think, Dan, how in the world would the Dallas Cowboys not be a better football team with OBJ than without him? And when you think about the Rams and the Packers also having interest, I do think there's a sense of urgency to sign OBJ as quickly as possible. And I can tell you as a former GM, when you're signing a player who's hurt, you want to sign them as soon as possible to help them through the rehab, get them to learn the playbook, so when they are ready to go, they can hit the ground running.
Go ahead, Danny, real quick.
OBJ's not going to be ready to play till like December because he tore his ACL in the middle of February. Second of all, if you're OBJ, are you leaving Sean McVay, LA, and Matthew Stafford when your role is exactly where you want to be right now to go to Dallas, who's
Right.
not going to be able to pay you as much, to Dak Prescott and demand more of you? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean,
You
That-
might
that's
hate to
easy.
say
If
I
he
agree
was gonna
with
sign-
Dan Orlovsky,
If he was
but
going to
I
sign with the
agree with
Rams, he
Dan
would have done it
Orlovsky.
by now. So the fact that he has other options, and by the way, we don't know when a player's going to be ready. We can look back at Cam Akers, who had a remarkable turnaround. So I don't think we should put any sort of limit on when a player may or may not be ready. I'm just saying that by signing OBJ, he's going to help their offense as the year goes on. And to me, if I'm Dallas, I try to do that as soon as possible.
You get the man a ham and turkey sandwich, you never know what you might be able to talk him into doing. That's an inside joke from yesterday. Diana, go. What do you think of all this?
Look, Jerry did the best Texas version of Aaron Rodgers, basically saying relax. He didn't share as much insight as Dan just did about the offense. He doesn't want to reveal all of it, but what Dan says is exactly why Dallas isn't making any crazy moves right now, because the focus of how they're going to be using tight ends, how they're going to be using their backs. Jerry was just talking about it a few days ago, actually. So panic, not even close in Dallas right now. James Washington, yeah, he was a contributor, but he wasn't a major superstar. The Odell Beckham Jr. element to this that Mike keeps bringing up, I think it's interesting. I still believe he winds up with the Rams. I understand why we won't get done just yet. I think it's just a matter of time before he joins. There's just no rush for Jerry to try to fix this right now at the receiver position. There's no reason.
All right, so Chris Canty, on the scale of relax, panic, which side are you on?
I'm a 3 in terms of the.
That's not what I asked you. This is not a 3. What part of
this
Wrong
was
game,
You
Chris.
said relax or
I
panic.
relax. We're not talking about your emotions, Chris.
You said a scale of 1 to 10. I'm
No, I
relaxed.
did not. I did not say a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm relaxed.
I physically went like
When you
this.
went to scales, it kind of threw me to the scale of 1 to 10.
That's not
making games up.
Big picture. I'm relaxed about the Dallas Cowboys, and Darren Orlovsky is hitting all the right notes when he's talking about playing more 12 personnel because you can play 21 looks, you can play 11 looks, and it creates favorable matchups in the passing games with your tight ends. But zooming out big picture, you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys playing in the NFC East, a division that they swept a year ago, and you're talking about them being able to have the best quarterback in the division and the best defensive player in the division. That will give them enough runway to be able to figure things out, but it's not just about being able to get to the playoffs, get to the postseason. Jerry Jones wants to compete for a championship, and I think that's when you have the serious questions about Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy, because the combination are 6-9 when they're playing games outside the NFC East.
Look at Dan's face. Go ahead, Dan.
Love you. Okay, so Chris, when you said I'm a 3, I don't think Greeny was asking about your physical looks. You know, I think he was.
Oh,
All right,
come
so
Dan.
so what I'm not going to do,
Dan.
what I'm not going to do is let us allow their quarterback off the hook. This is it, because the question is going to be, does Dak have enough? This is a team that has they took a first-round tackle in the draft this year. They have a Hall of Fame left tackle. They have a Hall of Fame right guard. They have a top 15 tailback in Ezekiel Elliott. They have a receiver they took in the first round 3 years ago, and they have 2 of the best defensive players in football. There is plenty to go win this division if your quarterback is what you think he is.
That's fair, and there's going to be a lot of people questioning that. Go ahead, Tannenbaum. Give me one 15-second final word. Go.
He just made the best case of why Dallas is the best team in this division, because their quarterback
Wrong again, Bob.
is still the best.
No.
Every person on this set, besides Tannenbaum, is picking the Eagles. All right, I've lost complete control of the proceedings here, and I think it began when I asked Chris
You've lost
Canty
control
for a
of it.
skip.
You think about Wes Welker, you think about Julian Edelman, you think about Danny.
Okay. All right. So, tight ends. We need the tight ends to truly save us if we're going to have any hope. 12 personnel. I've been begging for it. I've been screaming for it. I've been wanting it. We definitely are going to need it. So we'll see what the day has to hold. Don't forget today, Red Robin's, probably about 2 o'clock, we'll be doing a live stream from the restaurant there. It'll be a meetup and so on. And just remember, you
play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
You don't play.
You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
It matters. Okay, guys, it's going to be another busy day. I appreciate all each and every one of you guys. And hopefully today we'll be talking about a great practice. See you soon.